All right, let's dive into this Celtic transfer roundup because there's a lot bubbling away right now. And as always, it's a mix of excitement, frustration, and that lingering hope that something big is just around the corner. Let's kick things off with the name that had everyone doing double takes for about 12 hours. Isak Johnson. Now, if you were anywhere near social media yesterday, you probably saw the storm of speculation. The Swedish winger currently with Rapid Vienna suddenly pulled out of training, and then boom, reports started flying about a $10 million bid being accepted. And for a moment, just a moment, Celtic fans let themselves believe. The logic was, sound 10 million euros. That's a real bid. That's not development project money, that's we mean business money. The excitement was real. People thought finally Celtic are stepping up, making a move, splashing the kind of cash that puts you in a different bracket. But reality hit hard and quickly. Turns out the offer came from League One side Nice, not from Parkhead, not from Glasgow, and certainly not from a club that's been crying out for wide players with pace and flair. So Isak Johnson, thanks for the cameo in the rumor mill, but that chapter's already closed. There's no space for sentiment here. Harsh maybe. But this is the transfer window. No time for lingering looks or what ifs. If he's not coming, he's not coming. Move on. Now onto something far more promising. Shin Yamada. This one's moving in the right direction. And there's plenty of noise. Not just from the Scottish media, but from Japan as well. Yamada's name has been bouncing around the Celtic rumor sphere for a while now, and it's looking increasingly likely that he's going to make the switch. The forward from Kawasaki Frontale had an absolutely electric season last year. Goals galore, movement pace instincts inside the box. He ticked all the right boxes. This season, not quite the same fireworks, but hold that thought. We'll get to the dip in form shortly. Right now, what matters is that the reports are strong. Japanese outlets like Sports Hochi are saying it. The Scottish press are saying it. And there's even a timeline shaping up. Yamada's currently with the Japanese national team. Well, sort of. He's part of a domestic-based squad competing in the E1 Championship, a tournament where Japan only call up players based in the JA League. No overseas stars. So it's not the full-strength Japan side, but it's still a significant call-up. Yamada's involved. The tournament's happening in South Korea, and Japan have already played a match with a couple more on the way. After that, that's when the move to Celtic is expected to be finalized. He's set for a medical once those international commitments wrap up, likely around the 15th of July. And that timing lines up perfectly for Celtic, who've been keen to strengthen up front, but haven't yet made that marquee attacking sign in this window. Yamada could be that guy. Now it's worth digging into what kind of player he is, especially for fans who maybe haven't been staying up until 3 in the morning to watch the J League. Fortunately, we had a chat recently with Japanese football analyst Ryo Nagawara, who gave us a solid breakdown. And here's the thing, Yamada's a proper fox in the box. One of those strikers who just lives for the 6-yard area. He's quick, he's sharp, and his movement is outrageous. He's not tall, not a powerhouse, but somehow he's brilliant in the air. Not because he outjumps defenders, but because he's always in the right place at the right time. Finds those tiny pockets of space. Always alert, always sniffing out chances. For a team like Celtic who dominate possession and create countless openings every game, a player like Yamada makes total sense. He might not be the kind of forward who picks up the ball 40 yards from goal and beats 5 men. But if you put chances in front of him, he'll finish them. At least that was the case last season. This season, well, not so much. And let's be honest, 6 goals across 33 games doesn't scream elite striker. But when you look a little deeper, the picture becomes clearer. Yamada's minutes have been all over the place. Loads of substitute appearances. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, not a consistent run of games. Early in the season when he was getting more time, the goals still weren't flowing, and naturally the manager started rotating him out. But even in short bursts, he was still making those clever runs, still popping up in the right areas, just not finishing. Strikers go through those spells. Anyone who's followed Celtic for a while will remember similar patterns. Players who look anonymous for weeks and then suddenly catch fire. And that's exactly what happened with Yamada last season. He started slow, didn't really explode until the second half of the campaign. But once he did, my word, 14 goals in roughly 14 matches, it was relentless. He looked unstoppable. 2 goals here, a brace there, then a hat trick. Confidence player through and through. And that's maybe what Celtic are banking on, that in the right environment with the right service, he'll find that form again. He's 25 now. Not a young prospect, not one for the B team or a long-term project. He's in his prime, and that makes his move even more intriguing. The club clearly see him as someone who can come in and contribute straight away. No development curve, no bedding period, just goes. If he does arrive, the hope will be that Yamada can replicate that explosive run he had last season. And even if he doesn't hit those same numbers, Celtic fans will be looking for effort movement and that killer instinct inside the box. If he can deliver that, he's going to be a very useful addition. Now let's shift focus to another name that's been floating about for several windows now. Michelangelo Balikwisha. The Belgian winger has been on Celtic's radar for ages. And while there hasn't been a major breakthrough yet, there was a bit of movement this week. He missed a training session with Royal Antwerp during their preseason camp in Austria. The official word, fitness issues. That's what the manager said, though he didn't name Balikwisha specifically. But let's be real, when a player who's been the subject of transfer talk suddenly skips training, people notice. Balikwisha's a talent, quick, skillful, direct. And with Celtic having lost Jauda and struggling with injuries out wide, it's a profile that makes sense. But, and there's always a but, his injury record is a concern. He's missed big chunks of the last 2 seasons. That's the kind of detail you can't overlook when you're trying to build a squad for a Champions League campaign and a domestic title defense. Still, if the recruitment team are serious about him, you gotta believe they've done their homework. They'll know the risks, and if they're still pushing for him, it means they think the upside is worth it. It does feel like Celtic are moving a bit faster this window than in previous years. There's still a lot of work to be done, no question. And maybe more than most of us expected. After that game against Bayern Munich, it felt like the squad just needed a few tweaks. A couple of top quality additions, and we'd be set. But now, you look across the pitch, and it's clear that we need strengthening in almost every area. Left. Wing, right wing, central striker. Definitely. Another midfielder wouldn't hurt. A centre-back absolutely essential. And we still need cover at left-back. Kieran Tierney's return changes things, of course, but he can't be the only option. There were whispers about Tyrell Malaysia, but that feels like a stretch. Even if he's available, convincing him to come in as backup would be tricky. Still, the market's moving. You never know. The centre-back situation is one to watch closely. The name Diaz playing in Portugal keeps coming up. Looks like a solid option, but nothing concrete yet. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Before we wrap this up, let's talk about Johnny Kenny. The young striker is expected to sign a new contract with the club soon, and he's already made it clear he's all in. Said himself that he'd love to commit his future to Celtic, and he's eager to go out on loan this season to get more minutes. Took a heavy knock to the shin during training earlier in the week, and Brendan Rodgers wasn't sure if he'd be fit to play against Cork City. But Kenny made it happen. Wanted to play in front of a home crowd in Ireland and push through the pain. That's commitment. He knows the pathway won't be easy, but he's ready to earn it. Wants to play, develop, improve, and come back stronger. It's a good attitude. That hunger, that drive to fight for a spot, that's what you want in your young players. Get him out on loan to another Scottish Premiership club. Let him face the same opponents Celtic will face. Let him learn the rhythm, the intensity of the league. It's the best way to prepare him. The same could apply to Hayato. Aramora, if he doesn't immediately burst onto the scene, a loan could work wonders. We've seen it before with the likes of Ryan Christie and Christopher Aja. These loans can shape careers. And finally, a quick note on the League Cup. The SPFL have extended their deal with Premier Sports to sponsor the tournament until 2031. So for the foreseeable future, it's going to be the Premier Sports Cup. That'll mark about 10 years with that branding, depending on how you count the whole Viaplay interlude. Not quite as iconic as the old CIS Cup. Those were the days, but still a decent run. Celtic, of course, aren't in action in the competition until mid-August, but they'll be chasing a 9th League Cup in 12 seasons. That's a ridiculous stat, by the way, but we'll get to that down the line. For now, the focus is on transfers. The window's heating up. Deals are brewing, and the next couple of weeks could define the rest of the season. Let's keep it going because there's still plenty more to dig into when it comes to Celtic and what's shaping up to be one of the more decisive transfer windows in recent memory. With some deals beginning to move and others still stuck in the mud, it's that point in the summer where the tension starts to creep in. Everyone's refreshing their feeds every 10 minutes. Looking for updates, desperate to see a new face holding up the shirt in front of the stadium. And you can understand why. The squad as it stands needs work. There's undeniable quality in certain areas, but there's also a growing sense that Celtic are a few injuries away from looking really thin in key positions. The days of being able to rely on depth just to coast through the domestic campaign are gone. The competition is stronger, the Champions League demands more, and the supporters aren't going to settle for a just enough summer. One of the more immediate concerns is up top. While the buzz around Shin Yamada is promising, there's also the question of what kind of striker Celtic really need right now. Do you go all in on a poacher like Yamada, someone who comes alive in the box but doesn't offer much outside of it? Or do you look for a more physical presence, someone who can stretch the game, hold the ball up, and bully defenders when things get tight? The reality is probably that you need both. Different games require different tools. The domestic scene, especially against packed defenses, suits the fox-in-the-box type. But when you're up against tougher opposition in Europe, you need more variation. Right now, the squad feels like it's caught in between profiles, not quite fully committed to any one attacking identity. That's something that needs resolving if this team is going to kick on. And then you've got the wide positions. Losing Jota was always going to be massive. The flair, the unpredictability, the moments of magic. He brought something special, something Celtic fans don't forget easily. There have been efforts to fill that void, but nothing has truly stuck. That's why the club's interest in players like Balikwisha makes sense. Even with his injury concerns, the upside is clear. He's dynamic and beat a man has an eye for. Goal and plays with the confidence that Celtic's wide areas have been lacking at times. Whether or not that deal gets done is still uncertain, but it's clear that the club are looking for someone to inject energy and directness into the flanks. Because as good as some of the younger wingers have looked in flashes, they're not quite ready to carry the load week in, week out. Midfield is another area quietly needing reinforcement. There's been a lot of talk about adding a bit more physicality, a bit more control, especially when the games start to stretch and you need someone who can just put a foot on the ball and dictate the tempo. Right now, there's talent in that area of the pitch, no doubt, but you still feel like one or two injuries and things start to wobble. The names floating around in that department haven't gathered the same traction as the attackers, but that doesn't mean it's not being worked on behind the scenes. You'd hope that the recruitment team are quietly working on that kind of deal. Someone who might not grab headlines, but who brings real stability to the side. And defensively, well, let's be honest, that might be the area with the biggest question marks. At centre-back, there's been some movement, but nothing concrete. The Portuguese-based Diaz has been mentioned more than once, and he seems like he could be a fit stylistically. Comfortable on the ball, aggressive in the air, and used to playing in a possession-based side. But again, until something is signed and sealed, it's just speculation. The concern right now is not just about having bodies back there, but about having quality. European nights have a habit of exposing any weaknesses at the back. We've seen it time and again. You need center-backs who can stay calm under pressure, read the game, and most importantly, defend first. Everything else is a bonus. At left-back, Tierney's return is huge, not just for the quality he brings, but for the connection he has with the fans. But it can't stop there. He's had injury issues, and you can't go into a long season relying solely on him. There's talk about possible backup, some names floating around, but again, nothing's close yet. That's the recurring theme of the summer. Lots of irons in the fire, but still waiting for those decisive moves. You'd hope that by the time August rolls around, there's real clarity in every department. And through all of this, it's hard not to think about how crucial these next few weeks are going to be. Not just for this season, but for the next few years. Celtic are in a moment of transition. Still the dominant force domestically, yes, but with rivals getting stronger and ambitions in Europe growing, the margin for error is smaller than ever. The board, the recruitment team, the manager, they all know that this isn't the time to cut corners. It's time to go out, identify the right targets, and get the deals over the line. Now, circling back to Johnny Kenny, his situation is actually a really interesting one because it reflects a larger issue at the club. How do you bridge that gap between youth and first-team football? Kenny's clearly talented. He's got the hunger. He wants to play. But realistically, unless he explodes in training and preseason, he's not going to get consistent minutes at Celtic this year. So a loan makes total sense. The key is where he goes. Sending him to England or lower down the Scottish ladder might get him game time, but will it get him Celtic ready? Probably not. What would make more sense is placing him at a solid Scottish Premiership club. Someone like Hibernian, Aberdeen, even St Mirren or Motherwell. Let him get a proper feel for the league, the pitches, the defenders he'll eventually face if he breaks through. Let him prove himself against the same kind of team Celtic face every week. And maybe more importantly, let him develop in the spotlight. There's a different kind of pressure when you're playing in the top flight, and that's the kind of test a player like Kenny needs. The same logic applies to someone like Hayato Aramura. If he's not going to play regularly, don't leave him sitting on the bench. Get him out. Let him grow. There's a weird reluctance sometimes with Celtic to use the loan market within Scotland the way other clubs do. And yet when it's been done properly, it's worked. Think of Ryan Christie. Think of Christopher Aja. These guys benefited massively from playing elsewhere before returning and becoming key players. It's a model that works. And it's one the club should be using more often, especially when you've got a crop of young, hungry players desperate to prove they belong. Looking ahead, all eyes are obviously on the Premier Sports Cup as well. It might not be the most glamorous competition, but it matters. And with the new deal in place keeping Premier Sports as the sponsor until 2031, we're going to be hearing that name a lot more. It might not roll off the tongue like the old CIS Insurance Cup, but it's the reality for now. That partnership now makes Premier Sports the longest running sponsor in League Cup history since CIS, which ran from the late 90s to 2008. And fair play. It's good to have consistency in some areas of the game. The real action, though, starts mid-August for Celtic in that competition, and they'll be going after their 9th League Cup in 12 seasons. That kind of dominance is rare, and it should be a motivator, not a reason to rest easy. It shows what this club is capable of when things are done right. When the squad is strong, the belief is high, and the depth is there. Right now, it's not all the way there yet, but the bones of something solid are in place. It's up to the people in charge now. Identify the right players, move quickly. Back the manager, because Celtic fans aren't just looking for another domestic double. They want to believe again on European nights. They want to see a team that can go toe-to-toe with Europe's best, or at the very least not look out of place. And that starts in the transfer window right now. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a rumble brewing in the heart of Scottish football, and it's one that's bound to send shockwaves across Glasgow. Word on the street is that Scott McTominay, the towering midfield presence from Manchester United and the Scotland national team, has put pen to paper with Celtic, trading the charm of Italy for the green and white of paradise. Aye, you read that right. The lad, once tipped for Serie A stardom, could be set to don the hoops in what may be one of the most stirring moves in recent memory. While there's been no official confirmation from Parkhead, whispers suggest the deal is all but done. Sources close to the club hint that the move has been in the works quietly, with Celtic swooping in before any Italian sides could finalize their offers. McTominay, who had been linked with a number of Serie A outfits, including Bologna and Atalanta, appears to have chosen home comforts and Champions League dreams over pizza and Prosecco. And what does that mean for the old firm? Well, things just got spicier. Rangers fans won't be too pleased to see a Scotland mainstay strengthening their bitter rivals. McTominay brings with him Premier League pedigree, international experience, and a steely determination that fits the Celtic mold like a glove. It's a bold move, the kind that rekindles memories of titanic midfield battles from days gone. But could McTominay be the missing piece in Brendan Rodgers' evolving puzzle? The timing seems perfect, with Celtic looking to reinforce their European ambitions and tighten their domestic grip. The addition of a player of McTominay's caliber sends a message, not just to Rangers, but to the whole of Europe. Still, until the club makes it official, this all remains in the realm of rumor. But as any Scottish football fan knows, in Glasgow where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And this one's burning hot. Hello fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.